Good morning, everyone. Okay, so okay. Do you know? Sorry, do you know how to pass to the next slide? Okay.
If we manage to click to the next slide, please. There we go.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. So, guys, we are expected to be 10 billion people on this planet by 2050. How we can even get there? The answer for Saertex and Scott Bader is technology, and technology is driving the sustainable development. So I am Elena Romanova, Global Transport Manager from Scott Bader.
And my name is Stephen Bakker. I'm Commercial Director at Saertex.
Perfect. We're delighted to talk to you today about fire-retardant lightweight solutions for transportation that meet environmental needs. Okay, so what are the main mega trends supporting railway today? First of all, it's a growing population. You know that India overpassed China in 2023. It's the most populous country nowadays with 1.4 billion people. The second driver is urbanization, evidently, because by 2050, 68% of people will be living in urban areas. That's why the requirement for the greener transport is really urgent. In terms of environmental awareness, we're all knowing the 17 strategic sustainability goals for UN, but also the European Green Deal. So these documents are pushing us for a much greener solutions in terms of transportation. And thus, the rail transport is the lowest carbon CO2 emission transport, which grows into the requirement. So the rail transport is already high safety compliant and at least 50% electrified. So the most electrified countries on this planet are Switzerland, India, and China, almost 100%. And the rail transport is already autonomous. It's involving in a very complex system, including vehicles and infrastructure. And this is the best solution for our future. So the mega trends shaping the rail industry, particularly in the context of sustainability and environmental needs, are first of all the lightweighting. When we're talking about the lightweight products, we talk about the reduction of CO2 emissions, reduction of fuel consumption, and thus the lower carbon, so the reduced operational costs. Sustainable sourcing is primarily important because it helps us to reduce global warming potential and minimize environmental impacts. We're also talking here about the multi-material solutions because if we combine metals and GIPs, then we can make a more durable and most cost-effective composites. Otherwise, there is also the global requirement for the high safety enhanced passenger transport. So we're talking about the multiple metro projects, multiple high-speed rails globally, and this is driving also the requirement for the composite solutions. And last but not least, so electrification is primarily important as well as the ESG reporting, because the companies are now expected to report about their environmental needs and how they can deal with this in the future.
Yeah, so why are we using composites in the railway industry? Well, I think I have here an audience with a lot of experts from the composites industry, and most of you, first thing that you will say is it's lighter. Of course, it is lighter. It has a very good performance. We are about 40% lighter than steel. But that's not the only reason. Another very important reason why people want to use composites is that it is a cost-effective solution and it gives freedom in design. All these very nice curved structures that you see in the rail interior or that you see on the front mask of a train, that's not so easy to produce in metals. So that is where also composites give a lot of opportunities to make it really look beautiful and make a good looking solution. Maybe I take it. Together with Scott Bader, we have partnered up in finding a joint solution. We say if we want to support the railway industry, the composite railway industry, to bring new solutions, innovation forward, we should not work just as a reinforcement company or Scott Bader just as a resin company. As a combination in a collaboration, we can be much stronger. And that is what we have done. So we bring the strength from Scott Bader with the global presence and from Saertex with the global presence. And we set a combination of reinforcements, of core material and of resin, and performed a full characterization of these materials. This allows all of you to make a full FEM analysis of the parts and to become that way lighter. So what is the work of the design with composites for the railway industry? Yeah, it's always a combination of performance, weight and cost. But how can we bring cost down? Because at the end, this is very important. Well, our philosophy is that it starts with performance. If you have a high-performing material, you need less material, then you become lighter. And if you are using less material, automatically you become also cheaper because you need less material. And on top of that, the very important part as well is that you will be saving CO2 in the emissions as well. There are options. You can go composites with hand laminates and using CSM. That is not going to open up for the full potential of composites, because the short fibers just don't give this performance. Of course, you can go then to carbon NCF. That's on the very high end in terms of performance. But carbon, unfortunately, still comes at a quite steep price that in many cases is not commercially the most attractive option. And that is why we say for the railway industry, for structural parts, go into infusion or into RTM together with glass and CF, and the performance of the fire protection with the LEO system that we are jointly bringing to the market. So how does this work? Why do we say this is the best performance with NCF and infusion? Well, first of all, we are talking about a continuous fiber, not about a short one, about a continuous one with full potential it has. And on top of that, if you're using an infusion process, you get a much higher fiber content and therefore a much lower resin content. And what you're seeing here shows it very well on the table. With a infusion laminate, you reach fiber fractions in volume of 50 to 55%, whereas in hand laminate, you only reach 20. So you need a lot of resin in hand laminate. The performance is driven by the reinforcements, not by the resin. And that is why the infusion solution is better in terms of performance. We have also performed a full FEM analysis on the front mask of the Bombardier Trax train, and we didn't do it in-house. We got an external partner to perform this work. And what we are seeing is that there is a total weight reduction for this full front mask of 65%. The majority of this is coming from using less resin, because the reinforcement still needs to be there, but there's a continuous reinforcement. But the reduction is in the resin weight 85%. 85% less resin, and still giving the same performance, having a very reliable process with very good quality. And obviously, as said before, this also leads to a reduction in the CO2 emissions that we're having. I mean, we're talking here about becoming greener. Railway industry is a very green way of transport. If we look at the train building, also this is where we can save. And with this kind of solution, we can save 77% of the CO2 emissions.
Thank you very much, Steven. So as said, our Saertex and Scudba, the companies, have partnered to provide you the full all-in-one solution that can be used in the rail industry. So we have multiple systems that all are compliant with the EN standard 455452 for HL2 and HL3 levels. So we can provide you a fully characterized solution for infusion for the interior parts of the train, exterior, but also the front ends. And as we just said, we help to reduce the carbon emissions rate by at least 77%, and we are lighter at least 40% versus steel with a composite infusion, which is called the Crestafire Bio. On the other hand, if we would like to go even further, we definitely need to speak about the new range of Crestafire Bio resins that were launched by Scudba last year in March. Why we're talking about the Crestafire Bio? Because it's an alternative solution to phenolic systems, which are also widely used in the rail industry, but it has very high FST performance. It means those systems can be used in the most demanding applications in rail and land transportation. So why the Crestafire Bio is really better? We all know that the targets of the Green Deal is achieve the climate neutrality by 2050, but also to have the sustainable agriculture and sustainable transport. With using the bio raw materials allows Scudba to reduce the growth warming potential by at least 50%, and this is why this is important. So just now we were talking, Stephen, we were talking about choosing the right process, like infusion based on the Crestafire resins and the Leo performance like non-cream fabrics. Now we're also talking about choosing the right raw materials to produce most efficient and more sustainable Crestafire products. So why the Crestafire Bio is better? It is unlike many bio-based polymers. These resins, they do not use a biomass that competes with the food crops. So basically, when we talk about the sugar cane, which is being primarily crushed to obtain sugar, there is a material which is left behind, which is called the bagasse. And this material is very much important because in most cases it's been used as a fuel. But otherwise, we can also extract very important chemicals and turn them into fulvinyl alcohol that is then being polymerized in the Crestafire Bio resins. So with these materials, you can achieve at least 5 of the strategic sustainable goals of the UN, like industry, innovation, and sustainable consumption, but also climate action.
Yeah, and on top of that, if we're using already a bio-based resin, the question always comes, what is end of life for the reinforcements in the composite? And as a composite industry, we have to make this message clearer that the glass rovings, if we are doing an open loop recycling, and this is an image from UCA, the European glass fiber producers, if we are doing an open loop recycling into cement processing, this is a very good way of recycling. All the glass material that is in the GFRP composite can be recycled. Otherwise, they would need to take new resources like limestone and put it into the cement processing. And in this case, all the constituents of the glass are covering that. So there is a strong interest from the cement industry to go down this way. What we are needing as a composite industry is to get GFRP waste registered as a separate waste stream, and that we can fully implement this kind of way. So combination, bio-based resin, glass that can go into the open loop recycling is for us a very attractive way to move forward with circularity. And with that, we would jointly like to thank you for your attention, and we are open if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? So in this case, we invite you to our stand, so Saertex and Scudba, to continue the discussion on the bio-based resin. So we have multiple solutions for flooring systems, for prepregs, for infusion methods, pultrusion. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you at our stand.
Thank you.